Of the Craven County Board of Education to order at this time. I would like for Dr. Miller to please do the roll call for us.
Good evening, board members. Ms. Frances Boomer,
Here.
Ms. Naomi Clark,
Present.
Mr. Victor Dove,
Present.
Mr. Carl Ipock,
Present.
Ms. Stephanie King,
Here.
Ms. Kelly Muse,
Here.
Ms. Kimberly Smith.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have all members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. And at this time, I would like to know if any board member need to make an amendment to the agenda. Having none, I need to give a motion to adopt this agenda. So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second that the November 18th, 2021 board work meeting agenda be adopted. Question, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Ayes have it, motion carried. And at this time, I would like to take this, first of all, I would like to say welcome to all of you here tonight. And I would like to take this opportunity to review our vision and our mission statements. Our vision statements reads, we envision a public education system that challenges all students as learners and prepares them to imagine and create a successful educators and empowers them life values, innovation in every student leads in education and community engagement, and invite all students, their families, and all members of the community to work together to support public education to the benefit of our students, our community, our nation, and our world. Our mission statement says, together with our families and community, Craven County Schools would educate all learners to personal, professional, and civic success through challenging and personalized instruction. And at this time, I will ask our co-chairman, Kimberly Smith, to review the ground rules, the bin item process, and the safety procedures in the event of an emergency with the attendees of the board meeting tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Boomer. Our ground rules include, and they're posted on the back. I'd like the Roger Bell crowd to point to the ground rules on the back of the wall. We use them at all of our system meetings at school and here in central office. Great job, Danas. They are to post and approve the agenda, which you just saw us do. Listen as an ally. One person speaks at a time, respect each other, no sidebars. Everyone participate, stay on task, start and stop on time, schedule appropriate breaks. Evaluate at the end of each meeting. And if you could make sure that everything you have that beeps, vibrates, or could interrupt the meeting, if you could please make sure that those electronic vibrates voices, that those things are off right now so we don't have any interruptions in the meeting. We'll add one special one for tonight. It's a request, and I certainly can't make any of you guys do anything, clearly. But I would ask that when we get to the point where we have public input and other times in the meetings, if you could refrain from standing up and videotaping people. It feels awkward, especially when we're broadcasting this live and you can get the video at any time. I certainly can't stop you. I'm just asking you so that everybody can feel comfortable in expressing their opinions tonight. The bin item process, if a board member has an off-thought topic we're not talking about, put the sticky on the gray part out here and we'll make sure that Chairman Boomer covers it before we leave. Our safety procedures for tonight, if we were to have a tornado, we're going to split the room right down the middle. To my right, you're going to go out this door into the interior hallway. To my left, you're going to go out that door into the interior hallway. We're going to get down cover our heads like you guys do at school all the time, right? When you do the drills, and we're going to cover our heads and we're going to wait for the all clear, and then we're going to come back in. If we were to have an intruder, not in this room, we would ask that the people closest to the doors lock and secure the doors. And we would alert the building, call for help, and we'll wait for the all clear. If we had an intruder in the room with us tonight, we would do the same thing. Someone would call for help, someone would alert the building, and then we would put all of our differences aside and we would take care of each other and make sure these kids got out first. And so that's what we're going to do tonight, is just take care of each other and work together.
Thank you. If we have any elected officials who's here with us tonight, either here or virtual, we would like to thank you for joining us tonight. If we have any here, you may stand at this time so we can see who you are. Okay. We would like to recognize our Craven County Principal of the Year, Ms. Stacy Freeble, who cannot be with us tonight. She has a prior engagement, but she is the principal of Havelock High School. We would like to recognize our Craven County Schools Teacher of the Year, Ms. Arnita Morris, teacher at H.A. McDonald. She is with us tonight, and she's in the back. She's waving. We would like to recognize our military liaison, Ms. Alifa Palmer. We'd like to recognize Craven County Schools military liaison counselor, Ms. Valerie Nasser. Partners in Education Executive Director, Ms. Darlene Brown. And at this time, I would like to recognize our retired employees, educators. I always like to do that because I'm one myself. So any retired educators who are with us tonight, would you please stand? And I would like to recognize all our principals and staff and teachers who are also with us tonight. Would you please stand? Thank you. We are very happy to have all of you with us tonight. And at this time, we'll call upon our board attorney, Mr. Brian Gaucho, to offer an invocation for this meeting.
Board members, if you'll please pray with me. Eternal God, we pray for your shalom, your peace for our world, for our nation, our communities, and our families. In you, we find all that we need to be whole and well. In you, we are grounded in truth, that we would show integrity and honesty. In you, we are given purpose, a vision of what it means to dwell in harmony. In your peace, we have all that we need to live and thrive. So if we align ourselves with your paradigm of peace, grant us then your favor. If we humble ourselves, grant us success in our endeavors to do your will. If we trust in you, give us a wealth of confidence in our abilities to carry out your intent. If we follow your guidance, prosper us with your bounteous grace, that we would experience the certainty of your blessing. Then may our world, our nation, our communities, and our families receive that blessing this day. In the peace of your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. At this time, I would like for everyone to please stand and join our students from J.T. Barber, Armani Doby, Braxton Neesmith, Ukaris Mena Riascus, Maria Miniarcus, Jocelyn Salazar, Sean Hernandez, Santos Legisimore, and they will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
And at this time, we're going to ask, am I out of order? The recognition come next? Right, it's not in my book. Okay, at this time, we're going to ask our student for J.T. Barber. They have a wonderful presentation for us for the core word and our core value. So here we are, students, we're listening to you tonight. And don't they look so pretty? Let's get them handsome.
Thank you so much. I do have some amazing students, two of which could not be here unfortunately. However, they did help put this presentation together. Roxanne Wheeler with school counselor, J.T. Barber, and whoever with my administration and then an admin team. Thank you. I'm going to call them up and they have something they would like to give you and hand out. And then we have a presentation on video we'd love to share with you. They put together a really fun little project on the character and self-discipline and the core value focus. They decided they wanted to do a talk show and they wrote their own script. And then some of them helped edit the whole thing. So this is their project. All right, so Maria, if you could please come up and hand yours. Ikaris.
Thank you.
Braxton.
Thank you.
Santos.
Okay. Thank you.
Armani.
Thank you.
And they put together a puzzle for you about the words that they use to help them put this presentation together. And a little fun survey that you can find out how much self-discipline you actually possess yourself. And so I hope you enjoy it. And we're ready for the video.
Hello, my name is Maria, and this is Santos. We will be your host for today's show, J.T. Barber and the Gnome. Today we are going to be talking about the character word self-discipline and the value focus. Today's guest includes 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students from J.T. Barber Elementary School. Santos, let's start with you. First, introduce yourself, and then can you tell us why self-discipline is important to you?
My name is Santos, your other host for today's show. I am a 5th grade student at J.T. Barber. Self-discipline is important to me because it helps me keep my actions in place and mindful of what I say.
Thank you, Santos. What I am hearing you say is being self-disciplined helps you with your actions and work.
Yes, it gives me more time to focus on my work that I haven't had time to finish. Let's hear from Braxton.
Students who are showing self-discipline in the classroom will be focused on their work, paying attention and ignoring unacceptable behaviors around them.
So, you're saying that being self-disciplined can help you stay out of trouble?
Absolutely. Students who are serious about their work and good grades will be able to stay focused regardless of what is going on around them.
So far, we have learned that students who are self-disciplined can focus better, finish their work, and stay out of trouble. This is Ikaris representing J.T. Barber 4th grade class. Ikaris, do you agree with our other guests, and why do you think self-discipline is important for students? Yes, I agreed with them both. It is important because it shows you are ready to take up what's coming your way. Some people think you need to have good grades only. No, you have to have courage and believe in yourself. You also need to be mindful and have positive actions. It sounds like you believe in yourself even when things get hard. What do you mean when you say being mindful? Being mindful means you are aware about what is happening around you. And if you are mindful, you can do things quicker and you have a clear understanding of what you need to do.
Exactly, Ikaris. It is very important to be mindful about what is happening as well as your own thoughts. Sometimes I get distracted easily, and being mindful helps me refocus.
Speaking of focus, let's ask Armani. Armani is a 3rd grade student at J.T. Barber. How does being focused help you in the classroom?
Being focused can help me by not getting distracted, which could mess me up on the subject I am learning in class.
In other words, Armani, you are saying that being self-disciplined can help you stay focused and on task.
Precisely. Focus equals self-discipline.
In wrapping up what we have learned today, a student with great self-discipline will be able to do anything they set their minds to with hard work and focus.
All right, let's give them another hand of applause.
And here you go. You see this little device right here? Well, I'm going to show you something right now. Now, some people are rightfully concerned they might have to go a long period of time without having electricity. That's why 4 Patriots is...
Thank you. It was so good that I thought we had more. Thank you. You really captured our attention tonight. Thank you so much. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our meeting over to our vice chair who will do our recognition.
Great. And while Chairman Boomer and Dr. Miller are heading down front for the recognitions, we're going to start with the student recognitions, which is all of you who just did a great job. You guys will get a certificate from the Veterans of Foreign Wars and a certificate from the school system as well for you helping us today with the pledge and the character words. So if Armani Braxton, Eucharist, Maria, Jocelyn, Sean, and Santos could come on down one more time.
Okay, so we'll take, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have her?
We have her.
Can you guys get a picture?
There he is.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So let's give them one more round of applause while they're getting their pictures taken. Here, now we'll move to the staff recognitions, and I'll ask fellow board member Stephanie King to recognize the National Federation of State High School Association School Honor Roll Program.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chairman. Tonight, we would like to recognize West Craven High School for earning level 2 status within the National Federation of State High School Associations School Honor Roll Program for the 2021-2022 school year. This national distinction honors the dedication and commitment that West Craven High and its coaches have to their students and to education-based programs. Their coaches have been equipped with research-based and student-centered curricula that will assist them in their journey as an interscholastic coach. West Craven High has joined a national community of schools that value the professional development of their coaches and the learning experience of their students. This is an achievement that we and the community should celebrate. So at this time, we want to say thank you to Principal Montrell Lee. If you want to come up, please. Montrell Lee, Principal West Craven High School. Athletic Director, David Fernandez. And these next two gentlemen are my children. Assistant Athletic Directors Kyle Warmack and Bobby Griffin. We want to thank you for your commitment to professional development, which advances our interscholastic programs and creates a better experience for the young people participating. Congratulations again on earning your level 2 status within the NFHS School Honor Roll Program. Congratulations. Love you.
Thank you. Okay, continuing with our staff recognitions for tonight, I'll call on fellow board member Victor Dove to recognize the recipients of the Bright Ideas education grants.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tonight, we are recognizing our Craven County teachers who are recipients of the Bright Ideas education grants. Carteret Craven Electric Cooperative and the Carteret Craven Electric Foundation have awarded $26,150 in Bright Ideas education grants to 38 local school teachers to fund engaging projects for their students. More than 7,500 students at schools in Carteret County, Craven County will all benefit from these grants. Educators who win Bright Ideas grants are going above and beyond for their students, said Melissa Glenn, communication specialist at CCEC. The innovative and creative learning initiatives developed by our area's teachers are impressive, and we are proud to help them facilitate these projects. Since the Bright Ideas grants began in 1994, CCEC and its foundation have contributed more than $559,000 to local school teachers. Winning projects cover nearly all subjects, including science, math, technology, art, music, and more. CCEC is one of the 26 electric cooperatives in North Carolina offering Bright Ideas grants to local teachers. Since 1994, North Carolina's electric cooperatives collectively have awarded more than $13.7 million in Bright Ideas funding for nearly 13,000 projects and benefiting more than 2.7 million students. Bright Ideas grants applications are accepted by the co-op each year from April through mid-September, and winning proposals were selected in a competition evaluation process by a panel of judges. The Bright Ideas grant program is part of the Carteret Craven Electric Cooperative's ongoing commitment to building a brighter future through community support of education. Tonight, we would like to recognize Matthew Turpin of Havelock Middle School. The subject is paludarium and many terrariums. Terrariums. I don't think I'm the only one that will have a problem with that.
Not at all.
Okay. Katie Scarfin, Havelock Middle Schools. And her subject is spark productivity. Laura Wilson, Taylor Newsom, Tiffany Anderson, and Paul Chernitsky, all of Roger Bell New Tech Academy. Getting diggy with it. I wasn't gonna leave it out. I was just waiting for the claps, And that subject is getting diggy with it. Next, we have Tina Vandy Slunt of Tucker Creek Middle School. And her subject is Plots and Podcast Club. That sounds fun. We have Savannah E. Kilbane of Tucker Creek Middle School. And her subject is Sensational Science. We have Patricia Blair Dial. Did I say that right, Miss Patricia? Dial of Tucker Creek Middle School. And her subject is Harmony for All. We have Rosemary M. Steinman, Tucker Creek Middle School. Her subject is Classroom Economy Builds a Classroom Culture. We have Luana Halimatakis. And her subject, she's at W.J. Gerganis Middle School. And her subject is Thinking Outside the Box with Recorders. We have Ashley Alisea of W.J. Gerganis Middle School, and her subject is Spark Learning with STEM. Pardon. W.J. Gerganis Elementary. I apologize. And we have Emily Kiefer of W.J. Gerganis Elementary. And her subject is Paper Planes Project. So at this time, if we could give them all another round of applause collectively. And we all, not just the board, but we all, parents, all stakeholders, want to thank you all for your dedication and just creativity to instilling and inspiring our youth and children today. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. They didn't put that on my paper. We have the representative from the Bright Ideas Grant that's here. And we definitely want to bring him forward and give him a big thanks for what they do.
Yes. I'm frozen, I can't get back. Uh-oh.
We'd like to recognize Jake Joplin, CEO, you got it, of CCEC, and Melissa Glenn, Communications with CCEC.
Well, that's
Would
what
you
I
guys-
was about to say.
Would you guys like to say anything? Yeah, I was gonna let him say something that he wanted.
Yes, ma'am. We're just very honored to be part of this process, to be able to give back from our membership. It's very inspiring to hear those innovative projects and to be able to just see how that's going to help those just understand that the kids are going to be hands-on projects, and they're just great to hear about. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And at this time, Ms. Smith, would you please give us a summary of our board work session?
I will do my best. We will get it pulled up here. We met, for those of you that don't know, we meet on Tuesday before our Thursday night meetings for a work session. We spend a good part of the day here. We are joined by our next slide with our Teacher of the Year, Arnita Morris, who we recognized when she came in, and our Principal of the Year, Stacy Preble. And I regret she's not here since I put the 50th birthday picture up. But somebody tell her it was up, okay? So they're here to give us input. And also, next slide, we were joined by 2 student reps. They rotate around from the different parts of the county each month. This week, we had Havelock High student reps, Kylan Garrard and Ederiana, I'm going to butcher that. Ederiana Matthews, and they did a wonderful job, as well as a parent rep from JT Barber, Desiree Conley, and she gave us great input as well. We began the meeting with our next slide, our board goal work, and goal manager Naomi Clark led the board through work designed to improve our performance. We are one of the few boards in the country actually that evaluates ourselves, and that's a hard look sometimes. And so, and we have, and we've done that. We've looked at ourselves and the feedback that we got from our evaluations, and Ms. Clark led us through a review of our board code of ethics. And all members signed the code of ethics after we reviewed it. Chairman Bimmer actually led us through that portion, reviewed board relationships guidelines, reviewed a model for professional behavior, and we established new goals to target within the 3 lowest areas of our board performance. So we will monitor those 3 areas as we move forward to make sure that we improve in our service to our stakeholders. Next one, superintendent's report. We received an update on COVID. The board approved it on Tuesday, both screening and diagnostic testing for staff and students on an opt-in basis. Meaning if you need to be screened or tested, you can do that. Staff or students, you can do that. You have to opt in and ask for it, but then you don't have to go to the doctor's office. You don't have to leave work. You can do it right there with the school nurses at school, and it's free of charge. Craven County Health Director Scott Harrelson addressed the board. Craven County Schools lead nurse Luann Mack addressed the board, and Dr. Wendy Miller recommended the board consider making masks optional, which we are going to vote on tonight, as mandated by law following the public input. Also, under the superintendent's report, a roving substitute will be allotted for each school. The employee will be a full-time employee with benefits, and this will help to assist with the difficulty in being able to meet the demand for subs. As if you're in a school right now, you know that's a problem. So each school will have one who will help out wherever needed. The next slide, the board also received as information curriculum updates on the English language arts curriculum for middle grades and the elementary math curriculum. We had a great bunch of learning system coaches from both areas that did wonderful presentations, and those things are online on our minutes. If you go back, if you didn't see it, you can go back on and review those. Tonight, next slide, we moved forward items for the consent agenda for tonight. That means that we looked at them, we saw them maybe for the second time at our work session. So tonight you'll see a lot of things on our consent agenda. Those are things that we've actually discussed or looked at. It just saves time at a meeting tonight for us to put them there. If we reach an agreement, that means we all agree on it basically, and it goes to consent agenda. We approved the school improvement plans. We approved on second reading, policy 4001, equal educational opportunities. We approved the Human Resource Services Division Report 5 for November. We also moved to consent Second Life Max sale, family literacy bus purchase. I know they're excited about that. Class size waivers, which are also required by law. And we know that Child Nutrition is extremely excited about the Carolina Panthers Hometown Grant Award. And you'll hear more about that in the future. Policies presented for first read only were all under human resources. That means that's the first time we've looked at them. We're going to have all month to review them. You guys will have all month if you want to look at them and give us input. The policies that are there that we will take for a second read next month are on policy 7220, grievance procedure for employees, policy 7280, prohibition against retaliation, policy 7800, professional and staff development. And then we did the fun part, which was we selected the artwork for the 2021 Craven County Schools holiday card. And we had 25 to choose from. It was very difficult, but this is the one we selected that will go out to our stakeholders. And then we evaluated and adjourned the work session. I want you to know, because this is the last one in November, that we're thankful for every child, every parent, every staff member, and every stakeholder who makes up our family. And then welcome back. The work continues tonight.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate that. And at this time, I need to get a motion to approve the board meeting minutes for the following meeting dates. October 7th, 2021, the board panel hearing. October 19th, 2021, board work session meeting minutes. And October 21st, 2021, board meeting minutes. So I need to get a motion.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and second that the board meeting minute for the following dates that were just mentioned be approved. Question, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes has it, motion carried. Dr. Miller would also recommend that I need to get a motion to approve the closed session minutes for the following meeting dates. October 21st, 2021, Board of Education closed session meeting.
So move.
Second.
It has been moved and second that the October 21st, 2021, Board of Education closed session meeting minutes be approved. All those are you ready for the question? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Ayes have it, motion carried. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda? If there's nothing to be moved at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and second that the consent agenda be approved. Oh. All right. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, let it be known by saying nay. Ayes has it. Ayes have it, it is approved. Thank you. And at this time, we ready for public input?
Great.
Oh, good. Break for 10 minutes. 10 minutes break. I call this meeting back to order, please.
Have somebody move that.
Yes.
That's all right. You got a lot on your mind.
At this time, we will prepare for our public input. I would like to say that while our public input, no board member is going to say anything, will not interfere with what is being said. And after we have received the public input, we are requesting the same courtesy from our audience. If I have to hit this gavel because you get out of order, I'm going to ask one of our resource officers, our police, to please escort you out. I'm going to ask you to leave. Now, we are all here for the same reason, because we love our children. We support our education system. And there's no need for anybody to be rude or disrespectful to anybody. We are civilized people, so we can treat each other with respect. And that is what is expected here tonight. Ms. Smith, who do we have for public input?
We do first, before I come, remember we have 30 minutes total. So each person has 5 minutes. If you don't use your whole 5 minutes, please leave it for the next person if you don't need the whole thing. The first person up is Scott Farr.
Good evening. I come before you tonight to discuss mental health. But first, I'd like to applaud your work from last month to support the bus drivers, the substitute teachers, and the teachers' assistants. You forgot about the students, though. You're still ignoring the critical component of this whole educational system. These children need your support, and they're not getting it. After public input from last meeting, several board members made comments in rebuttal that I would like to address briefly. For starters, the study reference regarding the efficacy of masking is complete rubbish. The data was selectively cherry-picked, it was not comprehensive, and there was not even a control group. This so-called study would not even pass for an undergraduate attempt at valid data analysis. So why would this study be cited, yet countless thorough, comprehensive, peer-reviewed studies be ignored? Perhaps because they don't support your predetermined narrative. As a comparison, the Harvard-trained Florida Surgeon General has been looking at the unmolested data in Florida, where there are control groups. Even if you don't believe the numerous other studies, Florida presents a realistic picture of mask use as it relates to school transmission in real time. No effect whatsoever. Children in Florida have been living normal lives. And oh, by the way, Florida has the absolute lowest COVID rate in the entire United States, mask optional. Now back to mental health. Since non-medical intervention became the focus of effort for combating COVID-19, children have been an afterthought. They should have been the priority, but sadly, terrified adults have caused irreparable damage to an entire generation of kids for no benefit. Yet precious few have stopped for even a moment to examine the actual cost. So what is that cost? According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and the Children's Hospital Association, the declining mental health of America's young people is a national emergency. It has reached crisis levels. Remote learning, as we now know and should have predicted, was a mental health disaster. One comprehensive study that looked at the association between school closures and child mental health found that fully a third of children were more sad, more depressed, more lonely, and that 4th to 10th grade students in particular showed increased risk of depression and suicidal thoughts. Further, Black and Hispanic children and children from lower income households suffer disproportionate mental health consequences. There is no doubt that soon enough, studies about masking kids will show the same. We cannot wait. Still today, your arbitrary quarantines force children into food insecurity and neglectful or abusive situations at home. In North Carolina, suicide is the leading cause of death among 10 to 19-year-olds. Suicide is increasing among children ages 5 to 11. 5. Let that sink in for a minute, please. That's kindergarten. Self-harm is up, assault and violence are up, depression, anxiety, insecurity, obesity, all up. The list goes on. In 1 month earlier this year, there were close to 900 emergency room visits for self-harm in North Carolina, just for girls. And you sit here and think that none of this has anything to do with the policies that you support in the name of so-called safety. Again, I ask, at what cost? Is your heart still in the right place? Do you still believe that you're looking out for the well-being of the thousands of kids in Craven County? I sincerely struggle to find any objective, rational basis for your policy decisions. Everyone, including school children at this point, has the option to vaccinate against COVID. Everyone should have the option to continue wearing a mask if they so desire. But the transmission rate in Craven County has been less than 2% for some time now. It has been falling precipitously since a peak in mid-September. Kids do not cause this disease. They are not appreciably spreading this disease. They're not being hospitalized from this disease, and they're not dying from it. They are, however, suffering for it, thanks in no small part to the decisions of this board. As an aside, if you're thinking that mask or vax may be an acceptable compromise, let me be clear. It is not. You're not pediatricians, and while vaccination may protect an at-risk individual from a serious outcome, it has not been shown to prevent infection or, more importantly, to prevent transmission, especially over an appreciable amount of time. I would like to close with a personal anecdote. I have 3 beautiful, healthy, loving, otherwise normal children. Several months ago, in a fit of total despair, one of them indicated to us that he would rather jump out of his second-story window to their death than suffer one more day of your insane witch doctory. It was soul-crushing. I'm ashamed to have been any part of allowing this to be perpetrated on my children. A choice I cannot unmake and a burden I will carry to my grave. You should be ashamed too. School should be the one place for them to escape, to feel secure. School should be the champion of the child. School should be normal. It starts with ending the unnecessary and damaging oppression. You do not know these kids. Parents do. There is no threat to them from COVID. There is, however, a much bigger threat, one that is more insidious and more damaging. I implore you, please do not ignore it any longer. Please support these children mentally, emotionally, and physically. You are failing them, and many are suffering greatly. When is enough finally enough? When will we wake up from this dystopian nightmare? Please do not let your misplaced pride and the sunk cost fallacy lead you to continue down this path of childhood destruction any further. If you truly care about these thousands of kids in the way that you allege, correct now. Please stop this insanity. Mr. Dove, Mrs. King, please, you know it is wrong. Give them the childhood, the education, and the help that they need. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michael Epps. Michelle, I did it again. I am so sorry, Michelle. I will have it.
That is quite all
Before
right.
this is all over, I will have it down.
I am seldom called Michelle. I have spoken to you guys many times, and I've spoken on masks before. So tonight I want to talk about actually a much more potentially devastating topic, which are the vaccines. I would like to stop for a second and just say that I have respectfully attended the working sessions since the school year started and taken copious notes so that I would be informed on what I spoke about. I have brought data that I am professionally qualified to look up. I have given you that data. I have thanked you kindly for giving me this time. And I have listened to, many times I've been told in a group to be respectful. I've listened to children tell me how to be respectful. And again, I've heard that tonight. I've never yet been thanked for my input. Also, before I talk, I would like to thank the superintendent for making that distinction and saying that should you decide to change your mask policy, you urged people not to separate the vaccinated from the unvaccinated. I applaud you for that. Your own county health director mentioned the importance of natural immunity in helping bring numbers down. And so that needs to be part of that discussion because you may be unvaxxed because you have natural immunity, and that is never discussed. With that said, I'm going to, my husband, I think, just handed you guys the references printed out for what I want to talk about. My basic point is none of these vaccines have been FDA approved. None of them. That includes Pfizer, and I will direct you to where I'm getting this information. Pfizer-BioNTech's website, Pfizer.com, under their products, you can look it up, and it says the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has not been approved or licensed by the US FDA, but has been authorized for emergency use for use in individuals 16 years of age and older. Furthermore, on the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine study, they refer to this as an investigational vaccine. That's a fancy word for experimental. And you will see further down the page, they discuss the development of this investigational vaccine and the importance of doing that. Moderna, on their website, modernatx.com, discusses theirs and says, the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine has not been approved or licensed by the FDA, but has been authorized for emergency use to prevent COVID-19 for use in individuals 18 years of age and older. They further say, The Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is an unapproved vaccine that has been authorized for emergency use by the FDA for active immunization to prevent COVID-19 in individuals 18 years of age and older. The vaccine was developed by Moderna, a biotechnology company that has focused on mRNA technology since 2010 and is currently being studied in a large phase 3 trial. That's what's going on now, phase 3 trial. This is the first product they will be bringing to market, by the way. The Johnson & Johnson's, which is also referred to as the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine, their site says the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine is authorized for use in the US under the emergency use authorization to prevent COVID in individuals 18 years of age or older. They also caution serious and unexpected effects may occur. The Janssen COVID-19 vaccine is still being studied in clinical trials. Obviously, there are no long-term studies of the effects because how long has this been going on? A year? Johnson & Johnson also put out a report saying that approved in December of 2020 was a study that will have a 2-year follow-up period. All participants will be monitored for safety for 2 years. That would take this at least through the end of next December. Also, I found it interesting, the Johnson & Johnson, I believe I'm still on, says, the occurrence of COVID-19 related hospitalization and COVID-19 related complications, such as, but not limited to, hyperinflammatory syndrome, pneumonia, neurological or vascular complications, severe neurological or vascular events, acute respiratory distress syndrome, renal complications, sepsis, septic shock, and death will be monitored throughout the study. Investigators may receive requests to unblind study participants who become eligible to receive an authorized licensed COVID-19 vaccine when and if that becomes available. They further refer to it as a study vaccine, another fancy word for an experimental vaccine. And finally, in the last 8 seconds, I've given you a copy of the Nuremberg Code. Point 1, a voluntary consent of a human subject is absolutely essential. That means that the person involved should have a legal capacity to consent. Thank you. Excuse me, thank you for the time. And this has nothing to do with my talk, but a mother who had to go home to nurse a baby and could not sign up to speak asked me to present this to the board. May I give it to you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Epps, thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
I hope that I thanked you every time that you spoke, but if I've neglected, I apologize for that. The next speaker is Mr. Hill. Not written on the form. I'm sure he'll correct that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Craven County School Board, esteemed involved members of the community, parents, primary protectors and guardians of children and students, educators, respected, faithful, and devoted, whose dedication to teaching is supported and honored. I am Dr. Mark Held, a neurosurgeon who has lived, loved, and gratefully served this community for 26 years. I came here in 1995 from the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. My children were educated and nurtured in the Craven County school system. They have all gone on to further education in law, business, and my nurse daughter serves at Caroline East Medical Center. I'm proud of the public education that they received. Primary purpose for my speaking this evening is to help clarify going forward how to manage restriction, particularly mask requirements in these difficult times. Science requires new data and subsequently changes in policy. These inevitable changes have created much confusion and division. To be clear, science is not political. It is not emotional. It is not ideologic. The standards set forth are reasonable and science-based. They have been established as guidelines to rescind the school mandate for masks. Those standards are county cases at or below 60 cases per 100,000 residents averaged over a 7-day period. Our number is now 50. It is below. And a COVID test positivity rate of less than 7.9%. Our rate is 1.81%. To further put the situation in perspective, all COVID deaths in children ages 0 to 17 in the state of North Carolina at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020 has been 17. This is without adjustment for any pre-existing medical risk factors. Total North Carolina population, 0 to 17, 2,300,000. The risk of death from COVID is 0.73 out of 100,000 or 0.00073%. There are a total of 2,223 deaths in that same age group in that same period of time. COVID therefore accounted for less than 0.75% of all deaths for these children. Mind that these statistics are, in the vast majority, absent any vaccinations or adjustment for any pre-existing illness. While every single death is a tragedy, balance must dictate your actions. You take a look, you want to be safe, don't ever have your child swim, go out in a boat, don't ever drive in a car. The risks are much higher than for COVID. Deaths and severe illness generally do not affect children, especially those without significant pre-existing conditions. The vaccine provides excellent protection against severe illness and death for adults, and now for any eligible children. I would urge any adult or child with significant health conditions who wishes to be protected, get vaccinated. I would urge nothing is as effective for preventing death and severe illness and should be made available to all those that are interested. Care and prudence is of the utmost importance when dealing with our most valuable resources, our children and our teachers. We're all in this together and must value and respect one another. Life has risks, which must be carefully measured and never marginalized. Restrictions, too, have risks, particularly with children, transient problems such as headaches, acne, but more importantly, depression and psychosocial retardation. The latter clearly and definitively leads to lasting disability. The risks, according to the science, now outweigh the benefits. We must keep in mind that it is easier to build a strong child than to repair a broken adult. Let us not deprive children of their childhood. Nothing is a substitute for the human face. Expression of joy, sadness, anticipation, and hope can be expressed no more honestly and faithfully than in a child's face. I respectfully urge the board to follow the science, follow the numbers, put reason to the decisions regarding mask mandates, bring human sunshine back to our classrooms, and allow our children and their teachers to smile again for everyone to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Held. Our next speaker is Nell Hudson. Gentlemen, I'm going to have to ask you, we're going to have our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My daughter is a Craven County school student, and my son graduated from New Bern High School in 2020. Please vote against the mask optional policy. I just want to share 3 reasons behind my request. First, the board should follow the agreed upon metrics, and we have not had 7 consecutive days in yellow to warrant a mask policy change. As Scott Harrelson explained, we might waffle for months between yellow and orange. Should this monthly waffling materialize, then our board should consider a scientifically based change of our metric guidelines. But our current metrics have kept us safe, and my family is grateful. Second, our 5 to 11-year-olds have just now become eligible for the COVID vaccination. We need to allow enough time for our youngest students to complete the 2-shot regimen and for their bodies to build immunity to the virus. If we become mask optional, that means our youngest students, our 5-year-olds, will ultimately be in charge of making their own health and safety decisions while in their classrooms. It is going to take an emotionally strong elementary and middle school student to remain masked when their peers might not be. What responsibility will our teachers feel knowing that the child's family needs the child to be masked, but the child is now very hesitant to wear one. Our teachers love our students. This optional policy at this time seems like an unnecessary burden to our caring teachers and worried parents. The newly vaccinated students need just a little more time and protection. Thus, we all need to continue wearing masks for a little longer. Finally, this virus led to a pandemic because humanity underestimated its veracity, its wiliness. If we have learned anything, it's that we should not underestimate it. As Nurse Mack explained in her presentation on Tuesday, at this present moment, it is premature to adopt a mask optional policy. Masks help stop the spread of COVID, and they help keep us safe from getting sick. Masks work. But we all know wearing a mask is not easy. All of this has been really hard for our kids, for our teachers, for the staff, for our parents, and for you, our school board members. But I'm hopeful that the pandemic's end is in sight. We all just have to hold on a little longer, and we are strong enough to do that. Our collective strength and our scientifically grounded policies will defeat this deadly virus. Board members, please don't underestimate this virus. Please continue to protect our students and our school staff. Please vote no on the mask optional policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson. Our next speaker is Yolanda Dean.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak. I just want to say that I just moved here from the state of Virginia where things are crazy. And when I first came here, I felt freedom. I felt I could breathe again and my children can breathe. And there's some things that I've noticed in this room tonight. And I'm not here. I don't have a prepared speech. I'm coming as a mom with my heart. I'm a mother of 7 wonderful children, 5 boys, 2 girls. And one of the things that I noticed, we said the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. Second thing, we talked about respect. Madam, I love that because we can live in a community. We can live in this world together as long as we respect each other. I also live under God, my creator, who is the only one person that is going to tell you when I live and die. I have not met a doctor yet who can say that they can bring those people that I love back to life. But I know one day, and I believe that when I see them again, it'll be into heaven with my Savior. With that being said, I've also noticed tonight, everybody's wearing a mask and I can see it. But what is sad is those masks, there are people with disabilities. And I have a son who is deaf, that when he walks through the schools, people cannot see that he is deaf. And he has been scolded by teachers that don't know him, not realizing that he was a new student in the first week. And I'm trying not to get emotional because I cry, because it broke my heart when my son came home and said, Mom, they don't get it. They want us to wear these masks, but I can't see their lips. I can't talk to them. They can't communicate with me. When you talk behind those masks, they're muffled. I'm getting older. My hearing's getting tested. And I'm trying to struggle to listen to you. So I can only imagine what our children who struggle with words and hearing are going through right now. I say, let's have the option. We can live together. For those that want to wear those masks, let them. If that's what you think is going to save your life, then by all means, I respect you. But I want to live and breathe the air that God gave me. And I want my children to go to school relaxed and not in fear. If my mask falls down my nose, I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to get threatened to go to ISS. I send them to school to get an education so they can rise above and get out of poverty and live that American dreams that when my family came to America, That's what it was all about, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And yet I see in the times that we're stepping backwards. Please, let's not go backwards, but let's go forward and give these children the happiness that they deserve to play, to grow, and be part of a school where it's relaxed and they can get the education that they need. And not be afraid or separated because of their disabilities either. It breaks my heart that my son is hurt, that he can't see your lips and hear. As we breathe and as we live, I want that freedom for my son and his happiness and for all the kids. And they can't be comfortable. They can't. I have friends come over to the house and they don't like it. Some of them try to pull their faces down below their mask. Do we really have to set a punishment for them because they really want to get behind them and away from them? I say, if you want the option to be behind the mask, do it. But give those kids who need the freedom and the clarity to have that freedom to say no to the masks. As their parent, I want them to be happy. And that's all I have to say. And I hope you listen, because I didn't come here with a prepared speech. I just came as a mom who's heartbroken that we're living in a world that's living in fear. I don't want to be afraid. I just want to live. And I want my children to live and to learn and to grow and respect each and every one of you, even those who want to stand behind the mask. Thank you.
I want to make sure Ms. Dean heard me say thank you, because those are often the best kind of speeches right there. So our next speaker is, it has two, I'm not sure who's speaking, Ann and Rich McAllister. Okay, great. Are we doing good on time? Okay, so you'll be our last speaker.
I'm Ann McAllister. I'm from Havelock. My kids are students over at Havelock High School. My son, he's in 10th grade. He's a twin, actually. My other two kids didn't want to come tonight. And yes, I am a mom of 7 kids, just like the other speaker. This mask mandate is really stupid at this point. My kids have had so many health problems because of the masks. It's ridiculous. My kids have been out of school at least maybe about 3 months of school now. Think about it. We've been back in school since August. My kids have been out for 3 months because of the mask and how bad they've gotten sick. They were out at the beginning of the school for four consecutive weeks because of a COVID quarantine, because of other kids being tested positive. But my kids always came back tested negative. You have to really make this mask optional, because this is ridiculous. My kids need to be in school. They need to be learning. They won't learn if they're at home. Am I correct? How many of you are out and about during the daytime not wearing a mask since the mask mandate has been lifted? I know a lot of the majority of you have been out without wearing a mask in public. How about the work sessions that are closed? How many of you don't wear a mask during that work session? Majority of you, I can already tell. Please, you have to get this mask mandate optional. It's got to stop now. This mask is not keeping us from getting sick. It's getting us sick. My son wants to say something.
Yeah, I would just like to say that in the 5-minute time frame between classes, when I'm switching classes, I usually run to the halls because I'm bored. I see not a single person wearing their mask up. So what's the point of making masks mandatory if that's not going to change how people wear them? Making them optional is just going to keep it the same. Making them mandatory, that's just going to keep it the same. Nothing's going to change. Of anything, they're just going to remove their masks entirely. I see people be wearing the mask under their nose. People be wearing them under their chins. Nothing's changing. People aren't wearing their masks, right? Making masks mandatory is just stupid at this point. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality. Like, you're not about to make masks mandatory, but then teachers are going to see students wearing the mask the same way. They're going to say, oh, masks are mandatory. Students are going to pull their masks up, but then I'd say about 2 minutes later, once they're away from that teacher, right back down. So what's the point of making them mandatory if everything is just going to remain the same? making them optional, masks are just gonna come on. I'm sorry, but nothing's changing if you make them optional or mandatory. The only thing that's gonna change actually is just them removing them.
So please, just if you can, please vote to make them optional tonight. Seriously, please. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public input for tonight. I want to make sure all of you heard me say thank you. We thank you, the ones of you that have been persistent and come every month. We appreciate you too. And we will move into our board work now.
All right, now we have the superintendent report.
And our first item actually is under the finance officer, Miss Denise Altman. We have some folks here to present our report. I will let Ms. Altman make introductions.
Good evening, board members. Hope you are all well. Tonight, I have Josh Perrier here from Dixon Hughes Goodman. They are our independent auditing firm, and he will present a brief presentation to give you an overview of our audit. Was a favorable audit with no issues, and he'll go into more of that for you during his slides. If you have any questions for us, I'll be here just in case. Thank you.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here. It's nice to be here in person. We appreciate the opportunity to serve Craven County Schools. And before I get into my slides too much, we want to take a second to give a big shout out to Denise and her finance team for all the help and all the assistance they provided during this year's audit. It's been a challenging year for all finance teams and all school districts across the state. I would say for hers, it's been even more challenging with the transition in the ERP system and additional responsibilities related to that. From an audit perspective, we were also presented with some external challenges related to the federal government in some additional guidance, which required us to change our audit procedures kind of at the last minute and put an additional burden on her team to provide us some information. Despite that, her and her team were still able to provide us everything we needed in a very timely manner to allow us to complete our procedures and to be here presenting today. So that's a testament to her and her team. As mentioned in your agenda, we're presenting the statements tonight in draft form. We've submitted the statements to the LGC on November 4th for approval. But given the timeline and the influx of reports that they receive around this time of year, there's been a little bit of delay in the approval. We expect to receive it in the next week or two, and at that point, we will remove the draft nature from those statements. You should have received copies of the draft financial statements in your agenda. We can go ahead and advance on that. Here's a quick overview of the agenda we'll cover tonight. So we'll start with a brief discussion of the audit results, and then we will review the communication, our required communications to the board. After that, we will review the financial highlights, and then we'll do a quick overview of the review of the compliance audit. Next slide, please. All right, we're going to start with the audit results. Go ahead. Next slide, please. So primarily, all of the work that contributes into an audit is to allow the auditors to issue an opinion on the financial statements. So we've included on this slide here an excerpt of our audit opinion. And this opinion is considered an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. As a user of the financial statements, this is what you want to see. And essentially, it gives the users an indication that all the information in the financial statements is materially accurate. For further reading, if ever curious, in the draft report, the full audit opinion is included on page 1. Go ahead and advance, please. Now we'll get into a review of our required communications to the board. There are certain aspects of the audit process that we are required to communicate to those charged with governance. The first of those is any significant estimates or sensitive disclosures. We've identified those as the useful lives of depreciable assets and the proportionate share of the net pension and net OPEB liabilities for the retirement plans. We would also be required to report on any difficulties or disagreements with management. Thankfully, I can say that we've had no difficulties or disagreements to report. We would also report on any uncorrected misstatements. There were certain journal entries, which were identified by the auditors and proposed to management, but all of those were posted, so we had no uncorrected misstatements. Additionally, management's representation. So once the audit is officially approved, the board will receive our required communications report. Within that report will be a listing of the management representation letter, which Denise signed. So that'll give you an idea of kind of the representations that the finance team made to us during the course of the audit. Go ahead and advance on. Next, we'll move on to the financial highlights. Thankfully for you all today, we'll be presenting them in graphical form, because I don't know if you looked, but the financial statements are 100 pages. So try to avoid you having to flip through each of those. So this slide here will give you an overview of your funding sources for the current year and the past 2 years. If you see on the orange bar on the graph to the left, that's your general and other local funds, which increased by $995,000 when compared to the prior year. County appropriations were actually consistent year over year. So that increase that you're seeing there was related to an increase in Medicaid funds of $491,000 and fines and forfeitures of $261,000. The larger blue bar on the graph is your state public school fund revenue. And as a parent, it's your largest funding source for the board. That funding source increased by $1.7 million compared to the previous year. That increase is actually solely attributable to the Coronavirus Relief Fund, which is actually a federal program, which is housed in the state public school fund. Additionally, your federal funding, which is the lighter blue bar on the right side, increased by $5.6 million when compared to the prior year. That is related to the Education Stabilization Fund, or otherwise ESSER 1 or ESSER 2, you typically see it called. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. All right, so this slide is going to give you a percentage representation of how your monies are being spent each year. So this breakdown, you'll see if you look on the left side that 79% of expenditures were allocated to instructional services, with 21% being allocated to other supporting services. This allocation is based upon the North Carolina default chart of accounts. Well, as an auditor, what we'd like to see is consistency, relative consistency, which if you kind of slide, you can see that's there. And we also like to see, obviously, the greatest proportion being allocated to instructional. And you did have a little bit of a pickup, around a 1% pickup in instructional services, which is great to see. The next slide, please. This slide here will show your fund balance for the general and other local funds. Total fund balance increased by $4.4 million when compared to the prior year. Available for appropriation, which is shown in the orange middle bar there, increased by $3.8 million in correlation with the total fund balance, with a few slight adjustments for additional inventories and reserves for some additional receivables that was in place at year end. The unassigned fund balance, which you can see in the light blue bar on the right side of the graph, increased by $3.2 million related to the increase in total fund balance, offset by some amounts assigned to special programs of $861,000. One thing to keep in mind here, these statements are as of June, so they would not reflect any recent appropriations. I think there was a recent one for a generator project, so that would not be reflected in here. One positive item to note, if you're looking at this as a whole, is that there was an increase in fund balance, and has been an increase in fund balance, which, to be frank, we've seen across many districts with the additional federal funding. So you're picking up an increase. And one thing the board should keep in mind is that the cost of education is continuing to increase. With the state soon to pass the budget, there's going to be an increase for retirement, an increase for health and benefits, which for locally funded employees, that potentially may have to be funded out of local fund balance if you can't find any more local revenue. So something to keep in mind, that increase is not all discretionary. You can go and advance to the next slide, please. One more, maybe. There we go, right there. All right, this slide gives you a percentage representation of fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. So if you take the percentage there and convert it into days to effectively see how long the board could operate on fund balance, if federal funding or if all funding sources were closed, that would represent 43 days of operating expenditures, and unassigned fund balance would represent 26 days. It's important for the board to make a pointed approach when there's a decision to utilize fund balance. As auditors, we recommend that fund balance not be used for recurring expenditures and only be used for special one-off projects. And if it is going to be used, that an approach or that a plan to build it back up be put in place when it's used. One other thing of note, there's no state mandated thresholds for fund balance at the LEA level. Next slide, please. Here is just a quick snapshot of the school food service fund. As I try to find where I'm at here. Here we go. So cash increased in the fund by $406,000 as compared to the prior year, which is good to see. The liabilities presented are substantially related to the net pension and the net OPEB liabilities. The fund operated out of the summer feeding program for all of fiscal year 2021, which is why you see a large decrease in food sales. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So in addition to our financial statement audit, we also conduct a compliance audit over any federal or state funding sources which are deemed to be major. The consideration of what's a major funding source or major program, excuse me, is deemed by auditing standards and by like various testing and coverage thresholds. Go ahead and advance, please. Based on our analysis, as well as the OMB's designation of higher risk COVID-19 programs, we noted 4 federal major programs which we were required to audit. Those 4 are listed here. The first was the Education Stabilization Fund, the Coronavirus Relief Fund, Promoting K-12 Student Achievement, as well as the Child Nutrition Cluster. We're happy to report, as a result of our testing, that there was no findings or issues identified in these funding sources. Next slide, please. Additionally, these are the state major programs that we were required to audit. We audited the State Public School Fund, the NC Pre-K program, and the school bus appropriation. We also are pleased to report that there were no findings as a result of our testing in these programs. Go ahead. So that concludes all our material. I'd like to open it up to the board to see if they have any questions.
I'm sorry, Miss.
So basically, you're telling us financially we're solid.
Yes, yes, you're in good hands. We've noted no issues. Obviously, there's going to be challenges with some finance team transition and whatnot, but everything we've noted has been above reproach.
And then I just want to thank, from someone who works in the finance perspective, both here and another LEA, Denise deserves props. She's amazing. She's amazing finance officer. People in my job that has to supplies, equipment, materials to students. This finance department is top notch because they are always willing to help me and the Katie Bells that works with Mr. Griffith. They're always willing to help us navigate what we need to navigate to get supplies, equipment, materials to the classroom. So Ms. Altman, thank you.
Ms. Smith?
I have a statement and then a quick question.
Sure.
The first one is thank you for clarifying the recurring expenses out of fund balance.
Sure.
Because when the general public sees those large numbers, why don't the teachers get raised? Well, you don't use them for recurring expenses because you'll get in a financial bind if you do that.
Right.
So thank you for clarifying that. And the question would be, at the beginning, just for my own curiosity, at the beginning, you said that there were new federal requirements that kind of put a glitch in it. What were they?
Those were, so there was a federal requirement that came after our initial procedures were done that designated, if you saw those first 2 programs, the Education Stabilization and Coronavirus Relief Fund, essentially designated those to be audited regardless of whether they were ever audited before or whether typically you audit on a 3-year rotation. And late in the game, the OMB decided to designate those as high risk, which essentially means everyone has to audit them for the year.
Great. Will that be for next year too?
Yes, that designation is on a year-to-year basis, so potentially, probably, most likely.
Okay, that's it.
Sure.
Mr. Alcott?
Just one question. You were saying that LEAs are not required to carry a specific fund balance.
Sure.
Sure. Is that 8%? Do I remember?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
I think we like to target That's a general range. Sure. Size of operation.
Right. Sure.
Anyone else? Would like to thank the board members for those comments, and we do agree that Denise has always done an excellent job for us, and we do appreciate her. And she might be entitled for a raise. I don't know. We gotta give it to her. Because, I mean, I'm serious about that because I know that there are other folks. She's marketable, and so we are blessed that she's still with us, and so just thought I might put that in just in case. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank you
that.
all for your comments. It is a team effort in the finance office, and we have a lot of support from the
Good.
entire cabinet. So I appreciate your comments and your statements. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And your team.
You ready, Madam
Oh,
Chair?
yes, we're ready. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for you to recognize me.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, tonight I'm going to do a brief update. I gave the more detailed update on Tuesday, the monthly COVID update. So I'm going to go through these slides kind of as a review and hit the highlights briefly before we talk about the face covering policy. So looking here, this shows the North Carolina weekly cases. You can see the decline here. And next, the daily positives in Craven County schools, seeing our highest in one day with students 11 and several days of now happily 0. We're all very happy to see that. Next, the quarantines. As you'll remember, at one point we were 1,700 and we're on the 29th, we're at 125. We're fluctuating. We're definitely below 150. A long way from 1,700. Very proud of our nurses and working to get that number lower. Next, this is what I showed you last month, and you can see the state of North Carolina there, and we were pretty much all red. So if you'll go to the next slide, now you're starting to see some colors, which is what we want to see. At this time, Craven County was orange, and as was already shared with you in public input, the flip-flop back and forth. But we do have some colors going across the state, which is what we want to see. As a reminder, you hear folks talk a lot about the colors, the red, the orange, and the yellow. We are currently in the blue. As you can see at the bottom, those numbers. That's why I color coded those. And we're in the orange when I reported earlier. And since we have the day of the board meeting, we moved back to yellow and have been in yellow for 3 days now. All right, the protocols, just to remind everyone currently pending the board decision tonight regarding masks, that visitors last month were allowed back in the buildings, athletic events, and band participation with the following the protocols. Field trips are open for requesting approval, as are overnight trips. And all activities and events are open with protocols in place. Families here reminded me tonight that there's going to be a sliming at Brinson tomorrow. So our families are back in our buildings and celebrating and have good things going on. And also, I told you a little bit about testing, and the board actually voted to approve screening and diagnostic testing for both students and staff. I do want to make very clear, this is only for those who wish to take part and opt into this and request this as a service to our staff and our students and their families as well. And also the update on masks. And this is, as you're aware, I've been keeping the board in tune. This is changing almost by the hour. By the time I send an email, something changes. So to remind everyone, the August board meeting, the Board of Education made the decision to make masks required. And in accordance with state law, we're required to revisit this policy every month to determine if masks are mandated or optional, or as you will see in my next presentation, kind of all in between there. So the next will show you, and again, this is even changed since I printed this out earlier this morning. This is the state map with the school districts across the state, blue being required, red optional. Then you have some greens, which are kind of their own. We heard someone talk about tonight. Staff may be required if you're non-vaccinated and all kinds of different scenarios. But the ones that we have been talking about here are red for optional and blue for required. So that was kind of an overview from Tuesday. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have or comments about the presentation, and then we will move into discussing the face covering policy. Any questions about the presentation? It's kind of a repeat from Tuesday, a summary, sort of like Ms. Smith did with what happened in her section. All right, if we're ready to move on, Madam Chair, I will move to the next section of the superintendent's report. And that is the face covering policy. Again, the board is required by state law to revisit this policy every month. I did add some data because, as I said, we were yellow. We moved back to orange, and then we've moved back to yellow. So I have that data in the presentation for you. And as I said on Tuesday, my recommendation remains the same based on community transmission, that we are in yellow now for 3 days. And I did hear some conversation about the 7 days. If we were to remain in yellow, that would be Monday. And then we go into Thanksgiving on Wednesday. Who knows? I wish we did have a crystal ball and I could tell you where we're going to be. No one knows that. But based on our trends, I'm still comfortable recommending a mask optional policy. And I will reiterate and request from the board respectfully that it's either mask optional or mandatory. Trying to figure out if this person's vaccinated and if staff would wear this and student, it would be just one more thing, I believe, on the leadership in our buildings and our teachers. So I respectfully request either optional or mandatory for everyone.
To begin on what day?
And what I would request tonight, you have to take a vote on this, and the two policies are attached. The current policy for face coverings, which are mandated, and the revised policy making face coverings optional, which is what I'm recommending. And I believe we would take a board vote. And then if you decide to go optional, then we can discuss the effective date. I don't know that we need to discuss a date until we decide if that's the route you're going to take. So I'm open to questions, and I'm assuming you're going to want a roll call vote on this. So yes. I'm going to see if Mr. Dove will let me use this pen. I'll give it back to you, I promise.
I'm sorry, Ms. Mills.
Okay. So we know that Carteret County is already optional, been optional for a couple weeks, right? Onslow County's been optional since Monday of this week. Dr. Miller, correct me if I'm wrong, Pamlico County went optional today, this afternoon about lunchtime.
Well, I believe it
But
about that
officially
time.
effective
Yeah, this
evening.
morning. Yes.
And they're going optional tomorrow morning.
Correct.
So they did it effective immediately, essentially, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was right on that.
Well, I just want to say, I'm not one that's really susceptible to peer pressure, and the other counties and what they're doing is peer pressure in my mind. Want to do what's best for our county, but I also want to do what we said we were going to do, and to me, that is going ahead into making mask optional, but not because of peer pressure, because it's the right thing to do. Our numbers are low. We've met Scott Harrison even said, we've met them. We set the bar a little bit high, and for the most part, we've met them, except in that one little area that we keep bouncing back a little bit. But I feel comfortable. Here's the thing. There's no right answer here. I know that most of you in the room, based on the applause, think the right answer is mask optional. But there are a whole lot of people today, my emails were 3 to 1, who are worried about their kids and who want masks to continue. So there's no right answer here. There is the best decision that a group of imperfect individuals can make. So I hope that you guys, whatever decision we make, there'll be empathy for the other people who are not going to be happy. Because no matter what we do, people are going to be hurt and angry and upset with us. There's no right answer. There's the best answer we can make in a difficult situation.
Okay.
We have the discussion period.
Yeah, we're going to have discussion, then we will go from there. So it's now it's open for discussion based on the recommendation that Mr. Dr. Miller has made.
I would like to
her, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
First of all, I'm heartened by the position saying we're in this all together.
You can't hear you. Please. Yeah.
Sorry.
Mhm.
First of all, I'm heartened by the physician saying that we're in this all together, because I truly believe that we are. That being said, initially, there needs to be 3 corrections. One, when we go into closed session again, when I remove my mask, it is because I am eating. 2, it should not be presumed, but simply because we disagree with the data that we're provided with by other folk, that we have not read a voluminous amount of material, because indeed we have. We just interpret that particular data differently. And thirdly, with regard to the correction, I'm pretty sure we hadn't perhaps said it clearly, but during our plus deltas, one of the things was noted about us being grateful for the public input. And that was our way of saying thank you. So again, I want to say thank you, because we do need public input and clearly appreciate it. That being said, I'll now give you the meat of my discussion dealing with a particular issue. I was glad, quite frankly, that we delayed voting on the mask issue until today, because part of the criticism in the past was that we were not being transparent and had failed to allow input prior to making a decision. So that's why I was glad it was failed. That being said, we received, as Mrs. Smith said, a lot of correspondence, pro and con about optional masks. Yes, parents have rights, but the board has the authority and the power to do what we think is best for all of our stakeholders. That being said, if we look at the science data, and again, the board had said that when we fell into the yellow zone, we would consider going to optional masks. I heard Nurse Mack say unequivocally that we need to delay going to this particular option. Health Director Scott Harrelson was more equivocal. He didn't give a definitive decision. So again, we are in the yellow zone. Quite frankly, I too, again, agree with Mrs. Smith. I really don't care what the other counties do, except for scores, except for bonuses, except for the accoutrements they provide to their kids. But insofar as the scientific data, we have to do what's best for Craven County. My decision, quite frankly, is also not going to be based on the squeaky wheel, so to speak, or the loudest critics, because I have to reason what I think is germane and in the best interest of all of our stakeholders. I am also basing my decision on the fact that children now have vaccinations that are more readily available to them. It needs to be remembered also that if in fact we decide to utilize the mask option, that masks are going to be required on buses, because that's federal law. Do not have an option with regard to that. I made my decision 30 minutes ago. 30 minutes ago, because I went back and forth based on what I believe to be credible science. The mental health of students, all of us. No one in here says, oh, let's drive the kids crazy. We just don't care. That's balderdash. Poppycock. To presume that this board does not care. We disagree with your decisions, but we respect everybody. Everybody. Everyone in here, we're not getting rich. We're here because we said, let us serve. But again, I digress. My vote is going to be that we go to, based on science, go to the option of masks being optional. But my recommendation, board members, is that
it would also be that we not implement this policy until after Thanksgiving. That's the first week in December. Therefore, it allows the administration and the teachers to plan how they're going to implement this. That being said, thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Someone else? Anybody have any more comments? Ms. King?
Okay, you wanna go first?
Get my best side.
Okay.
Get my best side. No, but I don't want to sound too bravo, but let me put my mask on for you guys. I don't think anything I ever did was wrong. We've had comments that you're wrong, you should be ashamed. I'm not ashamed of my decision. I don't feel I was wrong. My decision was based on science. It might not have been the science that you all picked, but it was still credible science. So I stand on all of that. I did hear something different from what our superintendent is advising us to do from the health department, our nurse also. I do have a decision that I will make, but I'll wait till the vote comes out. But I do want anybody to know, whatever I do vote, the signs had nothing to do with it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm big and bad, but like they say, I can't be bullied into an answer when I'm competent and intelligent enough to read, just like you all have read, to find out facts. I looked at the Florida study. Florida numbers increased a month and a half before North Carolina's numbers. COVID runs in 2 to 3 month intervals. That's why it broke. That's what the report said. It has nothing to do with Mr. DeSantis. But we all need to take a minute to look at these highly political times that we live in, and let's try to separate politics from the things that we're doing for our children and students and how we treat one another. Because there are some mean people out here when it comes to these masks. And frankly, I don't care about what they say about me. I don't care that they say I'm rude, that I'm arrogant. All I know what I am is I stand on my own 10 toes and nobody can move me. So I want that to be said, because I know it's gonna be a lot of Facebook stuff tonight, because that's where they love to go. And I'll be laughing with it. And I'm finished.
Ms. King?
Oh, I didn't know if Mr. iPod wanted to go next.
Mr. iPod, did you have something?
Yes, and thank you to each of you that came out and spoke, and over the past several months that you've come out and shared your concerns and thoughts. We are hurting, all of us are. We've been through something that people haven't seen in 100 years. And I think sometimes maybe the stress, the fear, sometimes we're just plain mad and don't want to take it anymore. And I appreciate that. I can appreciate the passion in anyone, whether we agree or not. If I know you believe what you're saying, then I can appreciate that. I had received over this last 2 days, 16 mask optional votes. I don't want to call them votes, emails, and 8 let's wait. That's a third. That represents about a third of the people that actually contacted me. And I appreciated each one. I read each one, and I took under advisement comments that were made. I did have a couple of concerns. Our nurse, Luann Mack, advised that we wait a little bit. She made that recommendation partly because the toolkit says we're not there yet. We're very close, but we're not quite there. And then I had a couple of physicians that contacted me, Chris Hudson and Dr. Chris Hudson and Dr. Lisa Kafer, and they shared their concerns. And in both cases, their concerns were based on the fact that last week, we finally have our 5-year-old to sixth grade,
Mhm.
yes, fifth grade,
Mhm.
eligible to get shots. It turns out that the first couple of days, there was some stumbles and people couldn't get their shots, but then they started. Now, these are families that are choosing this as an option. I'm not telling everybody that that's not what they need to do. Personally, in my family, that's what we've done with grandchildren and otherwise. But there's a 4-week wait before you get your second one. And then there's a 2-week wait to have the maximum immunity. That's 6 weeks that these children that just got their shots last week and these families that are beginning to get their children to get shots have before they are immune. Now, I know that in most of those cases, those families are going to try to insist that the children wear a mask and be part of, whether it's optional or not, be masked until they feel like they're safe. I respect the advice that I've been given by professionals. I respect what comes out of the Department of Health and Human Services, and I will therefore support not voting for mask optional yet. That's probably not a surprise to most. I think we're very close. I do believe that as we roll through Christmas and come into the new year, it will be a new year and a new day. But right now, I don't see the data that tells me that I'm ready to make a change in my vote. Thank you.
Ms. King?
Okay. In education, and I think in most things, we all, especially education, we always say, speak to the person that's closest to the work. And the person or persons that are closest to the work in education are teachers. And I will pull my mask down because I don't want my voice to be muffled. I want you to hear me loud and clearly, that I work in a middle school every single day. And I'm looking at us in here, and I see we have a sign on the door that says we have to be masked to come in, and there are quite a number of us who are not. I don't know if that's just a daytime rule or if it's supposed to be all the time. But my point is, we're not able to enforce what we're mandating. We want to mandate it, but where is the enforcement? If we can't enforce it, what we're doing is we're putting so much work and frustration on our teachers. Because everybody that contacted me today was a classroom teacher that said, please help us. Because we spend so much instructional time begging, asking, redirecting, the student to pull his or her mask up all day long. I can't tell you the number of times that I've said, I'm leaving because I'm tired of getting cursed out because I'm asking someone to do what we said that we were going to do. And I've just asked myself, is it really worth it? And I don't know if the masks work or not. To me, it's a piece of cloth. It's not that serious. But to some people, it's that serious. It's that serious that we have to go through this month after month, day after day, minute after minute. And I'm going to be honest with you, it is wearing our teachers completely out. Those who choose to, do what you choose to do. Those who choose not to, do what you choose to do. Because at this point, our kids are suffering instructionally because teachers' time is not spent on instruction. It is spent on reprimanding, redirecting, begging, asking, let me call your mom, let me dojo your mom, tell your mom to come pick you up. My mask broke, my mask is wet, I got to go to the office to get another mask. It is happening all throughout the day in every school. And we have to decide which battle we want to fight right now. And I want the battle of, let's get some scores in, let's get some EOG scores in, let's get some, let's get some solid instruction in our classrooms. So that's all.
Anyone else?
Sorry.
I've got one, if I can feed off of Ms. King for just a minute. Our children tonight that presented.
We couldn't hear them.
Were precious.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not understand what they said.
Not a word. Couldn't hear 'em.
It sounded like they were in a bucket. I too, Ms. King, received lots and lots and lots of phone calls last night from teachers. Teachers are tired of not being able to understand their students. And if they can't understand their students, then their students cannot understand them.
That's true. That is true.
I'm sorry, I think we need to make masks optional and we need to make it immediately effective tomorrow morning because Facebook, we can do an all-call week and people that people that want to have their children masked, parents that want to have their children masked are going to mask them anyway. And it is, you know, I know for me as a parent, it's not Miss King's responsibility to make sure little Kaylee does what her mama tells her to. That's Kelly's responsibility, not Miss King's. So it shouldn't be put off on staff to make sure little Johnny wears his mask. But our kids are suffering and so are our teachers, and Miss King is right. And we're not making learning gains masked up, we're making learning losses. And I'm done with it.
Madam Chair, I think you need a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you asked for the motion not to include originally when I asked the question about when, I heard you say.
My request would be make the motions for either mask optional or mask mandatory and take that vote, and then we can discuss when the effective date would be.
I move we make mask optional.
I second it.
Would you like a roll call vote?
It has been moved and second that we make mask optional. And now all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Do you want a roll call vote?
A roll call vote first, okay.
Thank you.
I will repeat the motion to ensure everyone understands what they're voting on. That the motion is that we make the face covering policy optional, students and staff optional.
Okay.
Francis Boomer,
Yes.
Naomi Clark,
Yes.
Victor Dove,
Yes.
Carl Ipock,
No.
Stephanie King,
Yes.
Kelly Muse,
Yes.
Kimberly Smith.
Yes.
Madam Chair, motion passes.
Thank you for your. To decide.
Now, before the audience gets too excited, let's talk about an effective
That
date.
is a win, an effective date, so open for discussion.
I have talked to administrators and teachers, and in order for them to implement it properly, they're requesting that we wait and implement it the first week after Thanksgiving.
I'm going to ask the audience to just hold on for a few minutes. We have to make decisions. We know you're excited. And we pretty much know what you want, but we need to listen right now.
Thank you,
And I
Madam Chair.
appreciate if you could do that. Thank you so much. Anyone else has an idea as to when they want it?
Well, as an administrator, myself, I'm trying to figure out what the implementation would have to be. I mean, I don't know what else you would have to do other than to make a call. So,
Point of order, Madam Chair. There's people in the audience that are not supposed to be uttering or spewing forth comments.
Right. I'm trying to let everybody remain so that we can finish this discussion. Please do that. I want you all to be here to hear what we have to say. But we still have to show respect and do everything in order. Okay, so let us do that. Will you please? We will be out in a few minutes and you can go home and celebrate. That part of it anyway. So let's just be calm.
I think I was addressing it to Dr. Miller.
Yeah.
Like if there are some processes that need to happen, you know, and I know we're all
And
anxious.
I'm looking around for Ms. Wagner.
Okay, maybe there's some things that we need to do that I'm
Ms.
not
Wagner,
aware
would
of.
it be possible if the board so chooses for you to send out an all call tonight announcing that decision?
So what else would have to be implemented is what I'm asking.
The only other thing is parents would need to notify the school, the parents that would choose to keep their students in a mask, but
But there's where the questions are coming from staff, which you'll need to clarify when you send it to staff. Because the questions you saw them that we got from the two schools that we were at, were staff wondering, so is it the parent that wants to wear it or the child? What do I do if the parent says to wear it, the child won't? So you can make the announcement, but they had a lot of questions that were really good questions that if you're going to do that, you're going to need to be ready to give staff direction and clear direction. Because people in the audience, I know they want to do it tomorrow, but there were a lot of questions from teachers about how to do it now. And y'all can holler at us all you want, but we're in schools. Naomi and I have been in them every Wednesday for the past month. So those of you that say we don't talk to staff, we don't talk to students, that's just not true. And there are a lot of questions. They all want, most of them want it, but they have some legitimate questions on how to make it happen. So I would ask you, if that's done, to make sure that you send something to staff pretty quickly on how they handle those situations.
and I think we can do a call to staff as well, and parents can notify the school of their choice. My concern would be, again, I don't want to put this on teachers, that they're having to remind again a child to do this, that would be a conversation that I would hope administrators would work with teachers. And if the child is refusing and the parent has established that they want their child to wear a mask, then they would contact the parent.
So your recommendation, anybody else, any more discussion? What is your recommendation, Dr. Miller? I'm sorry, a parent?
Lawyer.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gatchell.
Uh-oh.
Just remember, what to say in the outcome. Federal law still will require students to wear masks.
On the bus.
On the bus.
Right.
That's a Washington problem. That's not a Creighton County.
That's right.
problem.
And Ms. Wagner, can you take note to include that as well? So that would still be required. It's out of the hands of the folks in the room. So
You're going to need to make a recommendation. Welcome to being superintendent of Frederick County Schools.
I'll be honest, I am comfortable either way. I'm comfortable doing that tomorrow to provide relief to staff who are already confused about how to enforce masks. To me, it will be no different tomorrow. It will be fewer students to enforce, and that they can decide with the families how the families would have it address it. If they want their child to wear a mask and they're refusing, to me, that's a contact the parent and a parent and child issue. Because if we continue to make teachers and administrators constantly address it, we're still having the same problem that Ms. King spoke about. It's just with a fewer number of students, but if the students in the class are not wearing that, it still can, it's sort of the 80-20 rule, right? The 20% maybe, but it may take 80% of their time. So I would say if a family makes that decision, we defer to the family, how they're going to have, work with us to enforce that. I'm comfortable going tomorrow. I'm comfortable as well if teachers feel like they need the time to go in Monday. So I'm comfortable either way. I know families and teachers, the ones I've talked to, would prefer we do it immediately and it'd be effective tomorrow.
Make a motion, it's effective tomorrow.
I second it.
It has been moved and second that mask optional will be effective tomorrow. Are you ready for the question?
I'd like a roll call vote, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Roll call vote, Dr. Miller?
Ms. Frances Boomer?
Ms. Boomer, as I recall before the meeting, Chairman Boomer asked you to make her
That's okay, I'm
last.
good.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's in alphabetical order. It's a habit. I will do that. I will honor Ms. Boomer's wishes. Ms. Naomi Clark.
No.
Mr. Victor Dove. This is to make it effective tomorrow.
Yeah, I vote to make it effective tomorrow.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Mr. Carl Ipock.
Yes.
Miss Stephanie King.
Yes.
Miss Kelly Muse.
Dear God in heaven, yes.
Miss Kimberly Smith.
Yes.
And Miss Boomer.
Thank you.
I just want
Now, don't y'all get up and leave now here.
to.
just,
Stay to the whole meeting.
okay, hold on just a minute.
No, you're gonna sit right there.
Hold on just a minute, please.
And-
The meeting's not over.
Yeah.
Just hold on for a minute, please.
There's two more quick items that the folks in the audience might actually be interested in.
Well, I just asked Ms. Chairman Boomer to say one thing, because I hear you guys and I feel your enthusiasm. I want to remind you again that there are a lot of your friends, family, and teachers who are not going to be this elated and who are going to be angry and hurt and disappointed with this decision. So I would ask for you to have empathy for those people. That's it.
And please don't, and
love them just the same the entire time.
we're good. That's what we want to hear. Dr. Miller.
And I will just like to, if I can piggyback on that. I hope you will tell your children at home to respect their classmates that do choose to wear a mask. Our children are watching us every day. Please let's model for one another how kind our world can be. I gave last Friday a day of kindness. It's our turn to show that.
That's right. Okay.
All right, the next item, December board work session. In the past, we have had the work session and the meeting on the same day in December. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. If you would like to have a one-day meeting rather than a morning and afternoon.
Yes.
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 Is there anyone opposed to me doing that? We'll just need to make that change so the public's aware.
No.
Can I
Okay.
give a preference that it be on Tuesday? If we're going to do it during the daytime?
Is everyone okay with doing
Tuesday's
Tuesday
fine.
and just handling our business on Tuesday?
Tuesday's fine.
Perfect. And the last one. So we're going to make teachers happy twice tonight, at least twice. I would like to recommend to the Board of Education a special approval to modify another policy. Our current dress code policy said teachers can wear jeans only on Fridays. So there's a lot of things I can do to celebrate staff, but I cannot violate policy without your approval. So I'm requesting that the month of December be declared jangles all the way, and that our staff be able to wear jeans every day in the month of December. This is to celebrate all the hard work they've done, all the time they've put their families on the back burner while they serve the kids of this community. I think it's the least we can do to allow them to wear appropriate jeans. I have to say that, right? Appropriate jeans. And I will say to all my teacher friends, because I told them to tune in, I was going to do something special tonight. Please, let's make sure we still model appropriateness, just as I ask our families to do tonight. Because I'm willing to do this and come to the board more often, but this is the test to see that we do like we need to do. So I am requesting that they don't necessarily have to wear school shirts, that they can wear holiday shirts, as long as the jeans are appropriate, that every day in the month of December, that's a very small price. It costs us nothing. And it means so much to teachers that they wear
They love
jeans
them.
in the month of December.
So moved, with the caveat that they do it right so that they don't blow it. Because if you wear them with the holes and you wear them torn up, it'll blow it for the future. So, but that motion.
They're gonna do it right. They're gonna do it
They're
right.
gonna- I
They're
have
gonna do it right.
confidence they will do it right.
They're gonna do it right.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Oh.
It has been moved and second that teachers will wear jeans during the month of December. Question, are you ready for the question?
Discussion.
All right, discussion, Ms. Clark?
I just emphasize, like Mr. Smith said, that the jeans have to be appropriate as well as the tops.
And I believe our school leaders will celebrate our staff in the appropriate way, and I trust them to monitor, and they will address any issues that occur. And staff will be out in the schools, and we too will help monitor that. But I feel our staff is, that we can trust them, and I'm going to believe the best until I see otherwise. How about that?
That's right.
It's on you, Dr. Miller. 'cause we
Thank you,
know
ma'am.
we
That's
aren't-
twice
well,
tonight.
We aren't enforcing the dress code as decided anyhow.
Do we have any, let's come back. Hey, we all, okay. So we've already, so that is fine, that they will be able to wear the jeans.
Nope, we have a motion and a second. We'll need a roll call vote because we're
Breaking
basically
policy.
suspending
Oh, okay, so you
policy.
got me off.
Yeah.
You're modifying policy.
Modifying policy on a temporary basis.
Okay, roll call vote,
Ms. Francis Boomer?
yes.
Ms. Naomi Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Victor Dove?
Yes.
Mr. Carl Ipock?
Yes.
Ms. Stephanie King?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly Muse?
Yes.
Ms. Kimberly Smith?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I know our teachers are at home clapping now. I will say in the month of December, I have lots of other surprises. I did need board approval on this, but we will be drawing every day for a surprise for a teacher. One of those, it may not be the greatest prize, but I'm going to go in and serve as their sub and let them have a duty-free lunch.
They will love it.
We have staff that are going to do things in the building to show how we partner with our schools, and we really understand the difficult times they've been in. We will have a daily prize drawing and some monetary prizes that we will be given to all staff. Every staff member's name is going to go into the drawing. Each day we will draw for a prize for the month of December to show our staff the true gift we believe is our staff and students in Craven County Schools. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Muse.
You're so busy celebrating everybody else all the time. I want to celebrate you for just a minute. Kindness Day, Jeans Day, salaries.
Okay.
New buses. Creative ways to increase morale in our district, okay? You got a bad rap being the queen of HR for a long time, okay? And you had to do the dirty work. I get it. But now, look at what all you have accomplished since July 1. And I want you to know that I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And I have to say, I need my staff to stand because we're a team. I need my staff. I'm not taking the applause without my staff. No, it's never about me. It's about the people in the room. Okay, and that's all I have. Merry Christmas,
Amen.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving,
New Year.
and all that good stuff.
Listen, we usually do celebration, but I know we all celebrated and we have some good things. And so just hold on to those things. And right now, Dr. Miller, we're going to ask you to give us an evaluation of this meeting, of our plus Delta.
I'll be happy to. So
Before people start leaving though, can we remind the audience that we want to give stickies to them because we want them to be part of this process as well for us to help us improve our.
On your way out, you can
Yeah.
get a sticker.
Yeah,
and
grab the
just give it to
stickies.
us.
We're starting a new process to gain feedback from those in the meeting that would help us improve, and also what worked for you tonight. We don't need 500 stickers to say mask optional. We know that, right? So, but think about the process of our meeting and what helps you as engaged stakeholders and how we can get better. So I'm going to put some of these or pass these down, or maybe get some staff, Ms. Altman, and we'll put some over there and on your way out. So let's start with the board. In thinking about the missions tonight and what you wanted to accomplish, what worked for you as a board?
What I saw tonight was a lot of respect for each other. I saw that, and I like that. I saw a lot of respect.
What else worked? What else worked tonight?
Ms. Muse?
I appreciate our people that spoke tonight, got public input. They had data points. They put a lot of thought, kindness, care, and facts into what they said tonight. I appreciate our stakeholders coming. We were all here tonight. We bounced our viewpoints off of each other, which was really nice. And cotton is the fabric of our lives. You go, Dr. Miller.
Mr. Doug?
And I just want to add to it. This is a nice moment to look at us all as working together. There was a period of time that the majority of you all didn't have it your way. And there was some people that did. Now you all have it your way, and there's some people that doesn't. But I just want us all to be reminded that just like we revisited this map and our numbers, if these numbers do drastically increase, that's still the law to revisit this month. So things could change again. But I want us all to stick together, just like we're happy right now. Let's continue to be happy with one another if this may change, which we hope it does not. Because once again, nobody wants to put people in masks. But this is not permanent. Well, we hope it's permanent, but it may not be. So just keep that in mind, and let's celebrate this victory as one community. What is it? Craven community.
CCS United.
United. So let's, some head shaking nose and whatnot, and I get it, but the truth of the matter is this will be revisited, and hopefully we can stay where we are. I love you all.
What else worked tonight, board members?
The agenda was up in a timely manner and everything was there with the attachments and everything working for us to review.
What else worked? All right.
The students.
Okay.
Presentation from our students, very good.
Anything else? In an effort to improve, and remember Delta, and for our audience, since they're starting to do this, Delta does, this is not a good and bad. Delta means how can we get better? So in what ways can we get better?
It is hard when we say no sidebars, and we generally mean that for us up here, but it is really hard when there are sidebars out in the audience. It's really distracting for us when we're trying to hear each other or hear somebody at the speaker. So the sidebars in the audience could be improved. I mean, because y'all think you're whispering, but we can, we hear you, or our head pops over that way.
We need more chairs. And I'm going to say something to you guys. We've had a lot of parent involvement because people don't like what we're doing. Okay. You don't like that we're mashed, didn't like remote learning. We need parent involvement because you do like some of the stuff that we're doing, okay? It means a lot to us to interact with you guys sitting here, to get your feedback on a break, because that's when you talk to us and we're accessible. I don't want you guys to stop coming. I mean, we've had board meetings before where once the kids have done their presentation and they leave because they have homework and dinner they have to do, there's, I don't know, 3 people sitting out here. We need you guys. So I want you to still come. Okay.
All right. Any other deltas? How can we get better?
Ms. Clark?
As much as I like public input, as I sat here and saw many of you, when you disagreed with someone's opinion, roll your eyes. That's your right. But think about us emulating what we do for our kids. If this had occurred in my classroom, there would have been a discussion. And I say that, not that I'm perfect. I say that as I model for my kids too, but that's something we need to walk the talk. And that's me too. So on the one hand, we're talking about respect and mutual respect. But on the other hand, you're rolling your eyes and catcalling and talking amongst each other. So that's just something we need to consider in the future if we truly are going to foster effective communication.
Okay.
Any other deltas?
Thank you.
Would you like me to review those?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what worked tonight? Respect for one another, public input with data points and thought behind it. Everyone working together, CCS United. The agenda was up in a timely manner and everything was there, and the student presentations. And it would be better if sidebars in the audience were limited or stopped, more chairs in the room, and that we remember to walk the talk when considering mutual respect. And I was trying to figure out Ms. Muse's comments. It's really like a plus and a delta, that she wants the audience participation to continue when we're not talking about mask anymore, that we want you to be disengaged in every topic for our students and our teachers.
One more thing, recognition. Our recognition tonight, the people who recognized tonight.
Okay, recognition.
That was good.
All right. We got a quick closed session, I believe. So.
Yes, okay, and so we're gonna close. At this time, we are going to close session. We do appreciate you all being here tonight. We thank you for your input. And we pray that you will have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
So before you put the stickies on the back there, Ms. Altman's going to show you where to put the stickies. We can't take a break with a closed session. So we want to remind you guys that our closed session is in this room. So we're not being rude. Once we make the motion and go into closed session, we cannot talk to you. So we want you to put your stickies on the board and then exit. That's not rude. That's going by the law. So I'm going to make the motion or y'all will have to go. Okay? I move the board enter closed session to discuss the care, competence, or performance of an employee of the board in accordance with NCGS 143-318-11, subsection A6. That's the motion. Need a second.
Somebody second the motion?
Second.
It has been moved and second that we go into closed session. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Dove, we are in closed session.
Victor. Victor.